Hello and welcome to episode number 158, where I chat in detail about the gunas or the qualities. Ayurveda teaches us that there are 20 gunas and that everything in the universe can be defined by these qualities. The Ayurvedic healing system is based on these 20 gunas or 10 pairs of opposites. So stay tuned to learn how you can become your own healer. Hello and welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host Colette, and I hope to educate and empower you to take charge of your health and well-being, preventing disease in the body and mind so that you can thrive in life. I will be sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. I will also discuss topics like yoga, which is the sister science of Ayurveda, health and wellness, nutrition, fitness, and mindfulness practices, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to help you to connect to each other. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend that you start by listening to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Now, if you like the content, please subscribe to the show so the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. I've also set up a Facebook group for us to connect and to support each other, and I'd love for you to join me over at the Elements of Ayurveda podcast group. And now, here's the show. This episode is sponsored by Banyan Botanicals. So here's something to smile about. Banyan Botanicals has a new Ayurvedic tooth powder. It uses ingredients like activated charcoal and miswak, which is a herb also known as the toothbrush tree. Cleansing for the mouth, this tooth powder supports healthy teeth and gums and even helps enhance your taste buds. You see, in Ayurveda, the mouth is linked to Bodhika kapha, which is a subtype of the kapha dosha that influences our sense of taste, along with the health of our digestion and much more. So when you choose Ayurvedic practices like oil pulling, tongue cleaning, and brushing with herbal tooth powder, you're supporting your overall health. With over 11,000 five-star reviews on Amazon, Banyan is your resource for organic, fairly traded, sustainably sourced Ayurvedic products. Also get lots of free Ayurvedic content and exceptional customer service when you visit banyanbotanicals.com/elements and receive a discount on tooth powder and all my favorite Banyan products. So visit banyanbotanicals.com/elements. Hey there, it's Colette, and today I'm going to talk all about why we should be focusing on the gunas rather than the doshas. But before I get into that subject, let me start today by recognizing World Ayurveda Day, which is celebrated on the day of Dhanvantri Jayanti, who is considered the divine propagator of Ayurveda. It falls on the 13th of November, 2020, and this will be the day after this episode goes live, and it's a day to recognize and appreciate this depth of ancient wisdom shared with the world thousands of years ago. Today, when our world is in trouble because we're moving away from Mother Nature and from our true nature, this humble, holistic healing system from India guides us back to our truth and gives us guidelines to help us reconnect with Mother Nature, to help us live in tune with her wisdom. And in turn, we then reconnect to our own inner wisdom. Ayurveda teaches us that it begins with self-transformation so that we can prevent dis-ease in the body and mind. And with this prevention, we have vitality, we have energy, we have clarity, we have awareness, and we also have the consciousness and the positive energy to go out into the world and help others. Ayurveda, the science of life, is the manual to life that we need right now. And I am truly grateful for Ayurveda. And just like you, listening to this podcast, we are all very passionate about this wonderful healing system because it feels so right. It feels so logical. It feels so good. It connects us to Mother Nature. And that is essentially what's going to heal ourselves and our world today. Now, there is a beautiful logo for Ayurveda Day, and I'll put it up in the Facebook group. And the logo consists, let me try to describe it for you. The logo consists of a silhouette of Lord Dhanvantari in the center of the logo. And like I said, Lord Dhanvantari represents the Lord of Medicine, the propagator of Ayurveda. And then around that, there's 5 petals in the logo to symbolize the Panchamahabhutas, the 5 elements. And there's 3 circles beneath, which signify the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, the fundamental principles of Ayurveda. And an oval leaf encircles the elements, and that depicts the essence of healing through nature based on these fundamental principles. So that's really beautiful. And I'll put that up in the podcast Facebook group, and perhaps let me know over there what Ayurveda means to you. So please check that out. I'll put the link to the Facebook group in the show notes. But today our conversation is going to be about the gunas. The gunas are the qualities in Ayurveda. And we discussed them in last week's episode, which was with Laura Plum, and that was number 157. And in that episode, I was talking to Laura about her book, Ayurveda Cooking for Beginners. And she was encouraging us to look at the elements in our food. And we were talking about how we tend to get fixated on the doshas. And this is why I think it's important to have a discussion on this, because in the West, we have got fixated on the doshas and the dosha quiz, and why it's really important to understand the doshas. And that helps us as we start our journey in Ayurveda. There comes a point where we need to go beyond the doshas and focus more on the gunas, and that kind of breaks things down a little bit more. So let me explain about the gunas and then get into each of these gunas so I can break it down a little for you and hopefully help you out with understanding this more today. So Ayurveda teaches us that everything in the universe is made up of the 5 elements of space, air, fire, water, and earth. And everything is essentially made up of different combinations of these elements. So we take, for example, the doshas. So the Vata dosha is made up of the space and air elements. And this combo of elements gives Vata its qualities or its gunas of dry, light, cold, subtle, rough, and mobile. And then we have Pitta, which is made up of the fire and water elements. And this combo of elements gives Pitta its gunas or qualities of oily, sharp, hot, light, acidic, mobile, and liquid. And finally, Kapha is made up of the earth and water elements, and this combo of elements gives Kapha its qualities or gunas of moist, cold, heavy, static, soft, and liquid. So you can see that the dosha name of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha is really a title for a grouping of qualities. Now remember, dosha translates to something that can go out of balance, something that can go out of whack. What's technically going out of balance is one or more of the qualities. Therefore, like I said, we need to go beyond the doshas and look at the qualities, and that will give us more detailed information as to what's going on in our bodies and mind. And I think it also simplifies the process of determining how to restore balance in our body and mind, as it tells us the effect that each quality has on our body and mind, and tuning into what we're experiencing as well. So it makes it more of an experiential process. So let's break down the gunas. Ayurveda tells us that there's 20 gunas or qualities. Now, these are also referred to as tattvas or attributes. I'll refer to them as either gunas or qualities in this episode. I'm talking about the same thing. So gunas or qualities. And Ayurveda explains that these qualities are the polarities of all forces in the universe, and they are put into 10 pairs of opposites. So I'm going to list them and then we're going to break them down. So the 10 pairs of opposites are heavy and light, dull and sharp, cold and hot, oily and dry, smooth and rough, dense and liquid, soft and hard, static and mobile, gross and subtle, and cloudy and clear. Everything in the universe can be defined by these qualities in that our body, our mind, our food, our actions, our thoughts. The Ayurvedic healing system is based on these 10 pairs of opposites and the principle that like increases like and opposites pacify or opposites bring balance. Therefore, if we can determine which guna or gunas are out of balance, we can bring in the opposite quality, the opposite guna to pacify. So let's go through now the 10 pairs of opposites in detail, and I'll give you some examples along the way. We're going to touch on this today in this one episode, so I'll explain as much as I can in this one episode. But just to let you know, if you want to delve deeper into this, I spent a whole week talking about the gunas in my Daily Habits for a Holistic Health course. It's an online course. It's on sale now, and it's only on sale until November 20th, 2020. So if you're interested in going deeper into this and learning about the effects it has on the body and mind of each constitution type, well then check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. So that's available if you decide you want to delve deeper into this. But let me break it down now in this episode. And like I said, I'll give you examples along the way. So the first guna quality is heavy. And in Sanskrit, it's called guru. And it's spelled Guru. So the heavy quality increases the tissues and promotes growth in the body, and it also creates stability. So examples of this heavy quality in our lives would be in dairy and meat and grains. Junk food can have a heavy quality. Stodgy comfort food can have a heavy quality. Sleep has a heavy quality. So too does humid climate. If you think of there's heaviness in the air when the air is really saturated. Now, babies need a lot of the heavy quality to produce lots of tissues because they're growing so much. And the heavy quality provides nourishment and helps us to feel grounded and stable physically and mentally. Excess heavy quality, however, can slow down digestion and can cause weight gain. It can also cause stubbornness and dullness in the mind. Now, let's talk about the opposite quality, which is light. Light, obviously, being the opposite of heavy. And the Sanskrit word for light is lagu. And it reduces weight and increases energy and alertness. Light and airy foods will bring the light quality, like rice cakes, sprouts, black pepper, pop cereals, salads. And also when there's a lack of humidity in the air could be considered light. Also cardio, if we're doing exercise, can bring in the light quality. Now, the light quality improves alertness. However, too much of this quality can create hyper-alertness, anxiety, worry, fear, insecurity, a feeling of being ungrounded, a feeling of spaciness. So if we're to look at these two qualities, for example, heavy, if we find that we have too much of the heavy quality, so therefore, like increases like, opposites balance, we want to bring in the opposite quality of light. So bringing in the light quality to balance out the heaviness, what would that look like? First of all, it would depend on your unique situation, and in a consultation, you would get tailored information to you. But in general, bringing that light quality may mean less sleep for you, in that just getting 7 or 8 hours sleep, not going into 9, 10 hours, no sleeping during the day, waking before sunrise. So in the Vata time of day, around 6 a.m., it would maybe mean an energizing morning routine, getting up and out and moving the body, cardio, increasing that blood flow, getting the lymph moving around the body. You could also do something like bellows breath, which is an energizing breath, moving that energy in the body, dry brushing, less sitting around during the day. Another way to bring in a light quality is adding fresh ground black pepper to your food, especially if you're eating in a restaurant and the food may be heavier and more fats may be used. Then just adding that fresh ground black pepper will really help. You could also sip on some hot water with some black pepper in it if that was okay for you. That would bring in more of that light quality and reduce the heaviness. And then in the case if you were feeling too light, then you need to bring in the heaviness. And that could be something like a calming nighttime routine to calm the nervous system, helping to calm those fears and that hyper alertness. Maybe some nadi shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, definitely meditation. Maybe some journaling to write about these fears and worries. Really setting yourself up for a good night's sleep is really important. Starting the day with a grounding yoga or meditation or pranayama practice, spending time in nature, less mobility, so less movement, more calming practices, sitting and eating your meals in a calming environment, adding some good quality fats into your diet, going for heavier foods like grains and the healthier comfort foods that have that heavy quality to them, like earthy root vegetables and in some cases good quality meat. So there's some samples of the heavy and light quality and how to pacify each one of those. So let's go on to the next duo, which is dull and sharp. So dull in Sanskrit is called manda, M-A-N-D-A. And it creates dullness. It slows things down. It retards things. It's relaxing, neutralizing quality. It brings calmness. And examples of dull quality in our lives would be in dairy and grains, rich and fatty foods. Meditation would have a dulling quality. Slow, calming pranayama would have a dulling quality. And dull weather, where there's lots of gray, heavy clouds in the air. Now, too much of the dull quality can cause sluggishness in the body and mind, and it can also cause withdrawal, like social withdrawal, isolation, or depression. So then the sharp quality, obviously the opposite of dull, the Sanskrit word is tikshna, T-I-K-S-H-N-A. And the sharp quality is transforming. It aids digestion, it's cleansing, it brings in comprehension and learning and understanding. Now, how this would appear in our lives would be as sharp flavors, like sharp, spicy foods, pungent spices, sharp cheeses, peppers. Another sharp example would be like the breath of fire, really sharp and transformative and almost cleansing to the body. So too much sharpness can lead to too much heat in the body and mind, inflammation, burning, heated emotions, maybe anger. So let's look now at how we would pacify each of these. So if we have too much of the dull quality, we want to bring in more sharpness. So that may be getting up early and doing some energizing yoga practice, like a vinyasa flow practice with a breath of fire maybe as well. It could be adding sharp spices to our food like ginger, black pepper, cayenne pepper, cloves. It could be doing a workout with intervals rather than a steady state workout. It could be studying inspiring materials. It could be bringing in some sharp smelling essential oils, things like peppermint and lemon and orange that are energizing. And then if we have too much of the sharp quality, if there's too much heat there, we want to bring in that dull quality. So that could look like less intensity, slowing down, a relaxing morning routine, doing some mindfulness, meditation, something like nadi shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, definitely less spice, less heating spices, more bland foods, more grounding foods, like root vegetables, like stews and soups with root vegetables, and taking time out in nature. That would definitely help to pacify excess sharpness. Okay, so moving on to the next one, the next pair is cold and hot. Cold in Sanskrit is called shita, S-H-I-T-A, and it creates coolness in the body. It creates coolness in the mind. It creates slowness. It also can cool down the digestive fire and can create contraction in the body and mind. Now, examples would be cold water, ice cream, watermelon, cucumber, mint, and coconut. They would all have a cooling quality to them. Shitali cooling breath would also have a cooling quality. So too much cold quality can cause a numbing sensation in the body and mind, and it could cause insensitivity, stagnation in the body and mind, and also mucus formation. So let's move on to the opposite now, which is hot. And in Sanskrit, it's called Ushna, Ushna. And the hot quality stimulates digestion, circulation, and heat in the body. It's expansive and it can be cleansing. Examples in our lives would be spicy food, hot water, hot weather. A heating pranayama, so something like bellows breath or kalabati breath would be heating, like kalabati or breath of fire. Too much of the hot quality can lead to excess heat in the body, which could result in anger, irritability, and heated reactions in the body and mind. So let's look at how to pacify both of these. So cold, if we're too much of the cold quality, we want to bring in the hot quality. So that could look like warm, easy, digestible foods, warm drinks, being in a warm environment, making sure that you're not sitting under the air conditioner, circulating the blood in the body with movement, so warming yourself up through exercise, using spices to increase the blood flow to the extremities, something like cinnamon. It's great at transporting heat around the body. So if you have cold hands, cold feet, cinnamon is great. And warming spices in our food, black pepper, ginger, cumin, most spices are warming. So you definitely want to use more spices in the food. And again, this information is best tailored to you. This is just samples, but in a consultation, you will get tailored information. Okay, so if you then have too much of the hot quality, you want to bring in more of the cold quality. So that could look like cooling foods. And we know that things like coconuts cooling, mint has a cooling effect on the body, watermelon, cucumber, rose, coriander, or cilantro has a cooling effect on the body. They would all be great foods to pacify the hot quality. Cooling breath, like the Shitali cooling breath, and cooling exercise. So, exercise obviously can be heating, but maybe if we're swimming in cool water, that would be a great way to pacify that hot quality. And making sure that you're not exercising in the midday heat, and less spice in your food, obviously less of those heating spices. Okay, so that was cold and hot. The next pair is oily and dry. So oily in Sanskrit is snigdha, S-N-I-G-D-H-A, and it creates a lubrication. It creates a moisture and smoothness in the body. It also creates relaxation and love, because we know in Sanskrit, the word sneha also means love, and it means oil. So in Ayurveda, we know that oil is really revered. And so oil in Ayurveda brings that love, compassion as well. Examples of this is obviously oils in our food, abhyanga, oils like the ghee, olive oil, sunflower oil, sesame, coconut, castor oil. They would all have that oily quality, obviously. Now, too much oiliness can cause water retention, can cause loose stools. It can cause slowness and sluggishness and heaviness. And then the opposite quality being dry, and the Sanskrit word is ruksha, or U-K-S-H-A, and obviously creates dryness, but it can also create constriction in the body. And examples of this will be like dry crackers, dry toast, dried fruit, which has no moisture in it, or a dry climate. So too much of the dry quality can create dehydration, dry skin, constipation. That constriction can also lead to fear and loneliness and nervousness and that feeling of isolation. So let's look at how we pacify both of these. So if there's too much of the oily quality, we want to bring in dry. And that could look like cooking your food with less oil, less fatty foods in the diet, cooking using less oil by like steaming or grilling, dry scrubs on the body instead of using an oil abhyanga. And if you have too much dryness, then we want to bring in that oily quality. And that is where we want to do Abhyanga daily, the daily oil massage. We want good fats in our food and definitely want less dry food. We really want to make sure that every time we're eating, we're looking at where is the fat in this meal. Oil therapies would be great as well, like Shirodhara, pouring of the oil across the forehead, peri-chill. It's like an oil bath. Maybe oil enemas as well that you would get done under professional supervision. So that's the oily dry pairing. The next pairing is smooth and rough. And smooth in Sanskrit is shlashna, Shlaskshna, and it creates smoothness in the body, creates lubrication, moisture, flexibility in the body and also in the mind. How do we see this in our lives? Well, it's in oils and ghee and avocado and cheese. And too much of the smooth quality can lead to heaviness, and it can also be mucus forming. Now, the rough, which is the opposite, obviously, to smooth, in Sanskrit is called khara, Khara, and it creates dryness. The rough quality brings absorption, it reduces congestion, and it reduces blockages in the body. And the rough quality appears in raw vegetables, beans, and salads. Now, too much of the rough quality can lead to dryness, rough skin, constriction in the body, and a feeling of spaciness. So let's look at how we pacify both of these. So if we have too much of the smooth quality, we want to bring in the rough quality. And that could look like veggies, lots of fiber and fruit for roughage. However, we don't want to eat them raw. We want to cook them slightly, but not overcook. So maybe you're cooking your veggies and leaving them a little bit crunchy. But we want to cook them because we want to be able to access that prana. Otherwise, raw vegetables can be very hard for the digestive system to break down, especially in cases where the agni, the digestive fire, is not strong enough. Another rough quality we could bring in to pacify the aggravated smooth quality would be things like beans and flax seeds. Now, if we have too much of the rough quality, we want to bring in the smooth quality. And that could look like good fats in the food, oil on the body in an Abhyanga oil massage. Again, the oil therapies I mentioned. We really want to lubricate those joints. And also yoga would help for flexibility. So yoga, the smooth movement of yoga, articulating the joints, which will promote the release of synovial fluid around the joints for flexibility. Okay, so moving on to the next pair, which is dense and liquid. Now, dense in Sanskrit is Sandra, Sandra. So it creates more density, obviously. It makes things more highly concentrated, brings cohesiveness, strength, groundedness, and solidity. And this would appear in things like dense foods like meat and butter and ghee and cheese. Too much of the dense quality will result in heaviness and stagnation, mucus, congestion, blockages in the body and mind channels. And then the opposite to dense will be liquid. The Sanskrit translation is drava, D-R-A-V-A. And the liquid quality creates less density. There's less concentration. It's more diluted, liquefies, dissolves, transports nutrients and wastes around the body, and also brings more compassion. And a sample of that, well, is water. Now, too much of the liquid quality can lead to water retention, puffiness, and slowness. So let's look at how to pacify both of these. If we have too much of the dense quality, we want to bring in more of the liquid quality. That's obviously going to mean drinking plenty of warm fluids, meals with lots of liquids like soup, or meals cooked with extra water. Steam room also would bring in that liquid quality, and the moisture obviously would help to open up the channels of the body. Now, if we have too much of the liquid quality, if there's a lot of water retention in the body, we want to bring in more of that dense quality. So now we want less fluids, less liquids in our food. We want to, when we're cooking, the food to be more dense, and we want to add more good fats into the diet as well. Okay, let's move on to the next pairing, which is soft and hard. Soft in Sanskrit is mrudu, Mrudu, and obviously I'm spelling these because I'm probably mispronouncing them. But soft quality creates softness, suppleness in the body, flexibility, calmness, and love. And it's found in ghee and butter and oil and yogurt. It can also be found in like a very soft mattress or even a waterbed. Too much softness creates laziness, creates more mucus in the body, creates heaviness and lethargy. Now, the opposite to soft, obviously, is hard, and the Sanskrit translation is kathina, Kathina, and obviously the hard quality creates hardness, it creates strength, and it stabilizes the body's tissues. It can be found in cheese, very dense and very hard foods, and even in like a hard mattress has that hard quality. Too much of the hard quality can lead to constipation, rigidity, selfishness, meanness, and an insensitive mind. If you have too much of the soft quality, you want to bring in more of the hard quality, and that would be a less comfy, cozy environment. So less of the extra blankets and the coziness and wanting everything to be so luxurious and comfortable. Maybe a little bit more discipline, less comfort food, less mushy food, less of the mashed potato with lots of butter. We want more crunch, more chewy food, less of the snooze button. So like I said, a little bit more discipline is needed there. And if you have too much of the hard quality, you want to bring in more of the soft quality. So that could mean more mushy foods, more of that mushy texture, comfort foods, less intensity, having more enjoyment in life, massages, calming treatments, diffusing some lavender and chamomile oils, or having some teas with those herbs in them. So again, too much of the hard quality, less discipline, less structure, less seriousness in life, and that will really help pacify the hard quality. Okay, let's move on to the next pairing, which is static and mobile. So static in Sanskrit is sthira, Sthira, and it can be strengthening, stabilizing, supportive, and it can really help promote endurance. Where do we find this quality? We find it in meats and grains, lentils and beans and fats. We also find the static quality in meditation and mindfulness practices. Now, too much of the static quality can result in sluggishness, lethargy, and heaviness. So the opposite of static is mobile, and in Sanskrit it's called chala, Chala, and this mobile quality promotes mobility, also promotes movement and stimulating action, and is energizing. Now, samples of the mobile quality in our lives would be castor oil has a mobile quality, so too does triphala. It promotes elimination. Travel promotes mobility. High winds, right? That mobile quality of wind. Exercise, if we're doing too much exercise, will increase mobility. And racing thoughts as well. Now, too much mobile quality can result in restlessness, nervousness, insecurity, racing thoughts, and mind spinning. So let's look at these pair and how we pacify. So if there's too much of the static quality, too much sluggishness and heaviness, then we want to bring in more of the mobile quality. So that would mean more exercise, more movement, biking and hiking, and a variety of movement. We want to bring in new experiences. The static quality can be very lethargic and inert. So we want to bring in stimulating experiences, stimulating breath practices like Brastrika, bellows breath, and also cleansing can be really good here and sometimes essential if that static quality is very aggravated. Now, if there's too much of the mobile quality, there's too much movement, too much restlessness, we want to bring in the static quality. So that would mean less movement, less travel, more routine in your day, more routine in like sleeping and eating and waking up, and mindfulness practices, sitting and meditation, spending time in nature, which is very grounding, and grounding foods as well. Okay, so the next pair is subtle and gross. Now, subtle in Sanskrit is sukshma, Sukshma, and this quality can break through obstructions. It can help pass through the minute channels, and it can move through the whole body. And where we experience this is with things like alcohol and drugs and energy in our nadis, or the subtle channels of the body. Now, too much of the subtle quality can result in spaciness, feeling ungrounded, and mental imbalances. The opposite quality, being gross, is called sthula, S-T-H-U-L-A in Sanskrit, and it creates bulkiness. It can be found in things like meat and cheese and fatty foods and comfort foods. Too much of the gross quality can result in obesity, decreases Agni, the digestive fire, and it can create obstructions in the body and mind channels. Okay, so how do we pacify these? Well, if we have too much subtle, we bring in more of the gross quality. That would mean bringing in heavier foods like good fats, stews with meats, grains, nut butters, comfort foods, obviously healthy comfort foods, but you want to bring in that more gross quality of these heavier comfort foods. If we have too much of the gross quality, we want to bring in the subtle quality. So that would be less heavy foods, more light and airy foods. So things like salads in summertime when our digestive fire is strong enough to digest the salads, sprouts, puffed rice, puffed quinoa. Cleansing or fasting can be great to pacify that gross quality. Also focusing on mantra meditation. So the vibration that the mantra meditation creates in the body will help to stimulate the subtle channels of the body. Okay, so that's subtle and gross. Final pairing is clear and cloudy. So clear in Sanskrit is Vishada, V-I-S-H-A-D-A, and it promotes clarity of thoughts, awareness, intuition, and consciousness. Now, this clear quality usually comes with cleansing herbs and cleansing practices. And too much of the clear quality from over-cleansing or fasting can result in fear, feeling ungrounded, feeling isolated, and unstable in the body and mind. The opposite quality of cloudy or sticky is called pichila, P-I-C-C-H-I-L-A. And it creates cloudiness, it creates a covering or slimy or coating on the body, and it creates cohesiveness in the body and mind. Samples of the cloudy or sticky quality would be dairy products, okra, because it has that slimy quality, psyllium, like psyllium husk, black gram or black lentil, and basil seeds also have that quality. Now, too much of the cloudy quality can lead to confusion, attachment, over-attachment to people or things, a hard time letting go, or lack of perception or awareness. So how do we pacify both these? Well, if we have too much of the clear quality, if we're feeling unstable, and if we're feeling isolated, ungrounded, we want to bring in more of the cloudy quality. So we want to think about sticky foods, like good quality dairy, dates, black gram or black lentils, okra, maple syrup, banana has that kind of sticky quality, chia seeds when they're soaked in a liquid, and cinnamon. If we have too much of the cloudy quality, we want to bring in the clear quality. So cleansing is really good in this case. We could also use herbs and spices like cayenne pepper, parsley, fennel, dried ginger, turmeric. All those would help pacify the cloudy or sticky quality. Thinking of things like broths where it's light, a clear broth, green leafy vegetables, mung beans, as they have that scraping effect on the intestinal lining. So there you go. Those are the 20 gunas or qualities, the 10 pairs of opposites. And I really encourage you to start looking in your day and thinking about where you see these qualities. You can begin by getting in tune with your body and mind and translating what you're feeling using the guna list. Now, if you're having a challenging time tuning into your body, this is where cleansing is so beneficial, as it increases that clear quality, like I just mentioned, and it creates that clarity or awareness in your body or mind. Once you have that clarity, that awareness, you can intuitively make choices for your food, your lifestyle, your mindfulness practices, your exercise, etc. But we need that clarity first. So if you're feeling like you're not able to tune in to reading your body and mind and figuring out what qualities are there, well, then I would recommend cleansing the body, and that will really help. Ayurveda gives us these guidelines to help us take charge of our own health and understand the subtle signals our body is giving us. When we tune into our body and mind and understand the qualities it's expressing, we can become our own healer. If we notice a quality is aggravated, we simply bring in the opposite quality. The gunas really help us to decipher what our body and mind needs to maintain good health. And it also shows us that everything can have an effect on our health and not just our food. So this guna method of healing is really a great gift from Ayurveda, and one that empowers us to have the confidence to make decisions for our own health and well-being. It's a simple, practical, and intuitive guide to healing. So I hope this information on the gunas helped today. Like I said, we discussed it in last week's episode on Ayurvedic cooking for beginners. I felt I wanted to just do a deeper dive. If you want to go even deeper into this, I cover the gunas in detail. We practice recognizing them in our day and in our foods and so on. And we go into more how they affect the constitutions in my daily habits for holistic health course. It's on sale now until November 20th, 2020. So just check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And like I said, we spend a whole week in understanding and bringing awareness to these gunas. The objective of this daily habits for holistic health course is to empower you to become your own healer. We talk also about the circadian rhythms. We spend a whole week on implementing daily self-care practices, dinacharya, that are in tune with the circadian rhythms. We also talk about the mind and the gunas of the mind, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And we also talk about connecting to your intuition. I'll put those details in the show notes. But like I said, just get curious about these gunas. I think if you're in your Ayurveda journey, it's great to start with the doshas, but then there comes a point where you need to move beyond the doshas and move more into the gunas, and then you get more detailed information when you're trying to read what your body is trying to tell you. And if you're interested in a private at-home cleanse or an online consult, I have my services online, and you can book a free 15-minute services inquiry call if you have questions and to see what's best for you. I will put that link in the show notes, or you can visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just go to the services tab. So please let me know your thoughts or comments on this episode over at the Elements of Ayurveda podcast Facebook group. I'll put the link in the show notes. If you think that this episode will be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them. This wisdom from Ayurveda is just so wonderful that we want to share it with people and help them get their health and wellness on track and prevent illness and disease. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, please do so, and the new episodes will automatically download for you. And thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in, and take good care of yourself. Be well, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Slán go fóill. Bye for now.